It's been said over and over, the family that prays together stays together. Now oftentimes, that's a lot easier said than done. But not in this case. Allow me to introduce the Richardson family of Tortola, British Virgin Islands, a living example of strength and faith. When faced with tragedy, tears, and total heartbreak, they did exactly what they know to do: pray. Kenyatta Richardson, Kenyatta being a masculine African name meaning musician, 26 at the time, was always a vibrant, passionate young man. Wasn't one to dress up. He's always been a simple guy with not much of a social life. Loves his sports, saxophone, and anything to do with aviation. While others took extensive pride in their appearance, he took pride in his brain. Never one to use a GPS, he always preferred to map out his route. And when it came to numbers, he memorized them. So on the daunting night of his dreadful accident, if police were looking for a number for mom or dad, auntie or uncle, or even his brothers, they wouldn't find any, because he stored all those numbers in his brain.
I didn't hear my phone ring at 3:45, but I heard when my husband answered his phone at 4.
Okay.
The words I heard were, "Okay, Uncle Mark." And I'm like, why is the Honorable Mark Vanterpool calling our house at 4 a.m.? So my heart started racing. At that point, I imagined something is wrong. And then they took me to the living room. Tom took me to the living room, and he told me that Uncle Mark said that he got a call.
On the evening of April 1st, 2018, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, he was in a taxi for about 5 minutes or so when the taxi took a left turn at an intersection, and a car heading south at 76 miles per hour hit them and T-boned him in the back seat.
And of course, the first thing I did, I tried calling my sons, and none of them picked up.
Wow.
Tishan was working, so he's not using his phone at that time, and TJ was asleep. So I'm frantic trying to figure out what's going on, what happened, what state is he in. And then eventually at 5 a.m., At 5 a.m., a homicide traffic police officer called, and he gave us the bad news.
What was the bad news?
He said your son was in a terrible car accident and he suffered a severe traumatic brain injury.
Kenyatta suffered a traumatic brain injury, one 90% of patients die from even before making it to the ICU, and the leading cause of death among young persons in the USA.
I screamed. I screamed, not his brain. Not his brain. Please tell me he broke his arm. Please tell me he broke his leg. Not his brain, because he needs that.
Why not his brain? Yeah.
Why not his brain? Kenyatta is a very intelligent young man, and he has been from the time he was born. At age 5, when he's in his Adams pre-primary school, he's spelling words like transportation, accommodation, plantation. Usually in stage 1, you're spelling little 5-letter words.
His brain is his swag.
That's his swag. He would sit at the breakfast table, having breakfast and reading. He loves to read.
When the traffic police got to the scene, having seen his condition, they immediately called in homicide at traffic and turned the investigation over to them. That investigation is still ongoing, with his accident never even making local news. The eldest of 3 boys seemed to now become the youngest, having to learn everything all over again.
With the challenges, some of the challenges that he has was trying to balance his brain with his feet, with his hands, and so it took focus and concentration and understanding his next move.
Right. So a simple thing as maybe standing or trying to walk to the bathroom would be extremely difficult because there's an imbalance.
Yes.
And how did you guys work through little stuff like that?
There was an instructor that came to help us in his therapy, and it was a lovely lady. She was so understanding, so she taught me some of the techniques to as to how to go about doing it. And because I was there practically 24 hours, when I learned her techniques, I do it over and over for him. Normally they would come in for probably like 2 hours, an hour, and do it, and then they go to a next
But you would
person.
double up on it.
But I would double up and triple up, and even when I would have to sometimes realize, okay, he's tired, and say,
Needs a
okay,
break,
give him a break. So it was quite challenging, but when it's your son, even though it's challenging, it comes very easy.
With his younger brothers being his protector, friend, and biggest supporters, the road to recovery would be long, painful, and sometimes seemingly impossible, but for everyone except Kenyatta.
Let me go back to the hospital and seeing him, my experience seeing him, it was like, he said he was speechless. I had everything to say. I couldn't keep my mouth shut because
Why?
coming into the hospital, the doctors really and truly did not expect Kenyatta to be where he is. So the doctors were scared to talk to us because they didn't know what to say or how to come about to tell us like he's there. So they had us waiting, and I'm keen. We supposed to be keen. We live together. We supposed to be.
So
the
you had all the
first.
questions.
So I had a lot of questions because throughout this time we still didn't see him. We heard he was in the surgery and already been out the surgery.
Okay.
And at that moment, I'm so itching to see. I just want to know how my brother look right now, what condition he in, and they wouldn't let me do it. So I had a lot to say. He, on the other hand, was trying to keep me calm. And when we finally get to see him, he ain't say nothing. But me, because I wanted to see him so long ago, when I finally get to see him, I was like, no way. Nobody ain't say anything, and nobody didn't know how to come about it and tell me anything or tell us anything. And to see half me, you could imagine seeing yourself in the mirror with half your forehead going the opposite way.
I can't actually.
You can't unless you actually see it for yourself. And at that moment, all I was worried about is what my mom is going to see when she see her son. And I was worried about my mother the whole time, the whole entire time. I sitting there like, mommy gotta see this. Mommy coming, she on her way and she gotta see what I see now. And I like, I can't look at my mother seeing my brother.
Throughout the entire ordeal, he has not been depressed, but very optimistic and committed to his source of strength, God, while others in his similar situation would have emotional outbursts, crying and screaming. His would simply be laughter, always finding a smile to brighten everyone around him.
So as a mom, I had to do a lot of focusing and self-talking to make sure that I don't go into depression and that I don't go crazy, because it's very easy to just give up. But I had to keep myself strong for him. And so I would be constantly like looking at him during the early process to see if he looks depressed or if he doesn't look depressed. And I mean, he is just so amazing, always positive, always finding a way out. It's like, Ma, if I can't do this, I can do that, as long as it's in aviation. But the Bible says that we can plan all we want.
Absolutely.
But God is the one who makes the ultimate decision where our future is concerned. We might say, okay, we believe we were born for this purpose, but yet he has another purpose for us. So I've been standing on that God, there's a greater glory that you would get for allowing this, because I spent a lot of money, my family invested a lot of time, into his career. And if this is where we're going to find ourselves today, it has to be because you have a greater plan, something that we couldn't see because we were so buried in air traffic control, buried in piloting.
Buried in your vision.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And not necessarily his perfect will for all of us.
And in the end, his perfect will prevail.
It will be prevail. And whatever it is, we are going to cooperate along with him.
Amen.
Amen.
Hours of physical therapy a day, maximizing every moment they had with their son. The Richardson family refused to allow a medical diagnosis to cause them to lose hope. As Kenyatta walked in our studios and greeted us all, it was evident that his long-term memory was sharp, remembering and calling us all his peers by name. After doctors had told his parents after weeks of being in an ICU, if he doesn't start showing signs of improvement now, he will never wake up.
We sat down and we said we have to hold a meeting with these doctors to find out what is next. When is he going to respond, react to us, them, because they should know exactly when and how long. And when we had the meeting with them, when we asked them, like, we have our home, we have our businesses home, we have our jobs, so when can we expect for our son to at least say something, recognize you at least? The five of them like watch each other like, and like, what can we say? And the most senior doctor told us that, with the seriousness of his injury, brain injury, normally it takes 6 months to a year to at least start responding. And when he told us that, he said if he can probably do the little simple things like the reflections, when his brain probably allows him, he probably reflect. And he said he hardly can even do that. And I looked at my wife, and being the woman, the God woman that she is, she literally looked at that doctor and said, "You don't have the final say, doc." And she started her preaching, and she went in, and the doctor was like, "Okay, I understand what you're saying, but medically, we know what to expect and how long to expect." And he said he wouldn't recover within 6 months to a year, and if he doesn't do that within that period of time, he will stay that way for the rest of his life. And that hit us like a ton of bricks. But we know the God that we serve, and we know medical says that, but with God, miracles come, and we knew that God would do a miracle in Kenyatta's life. So with that said, we knew that okay, God, the doctor says this. Now you show up and show out to show the world that you are in control, and you will change medical to what your power would do. And this was May 2nd. They told us this, and on May 3rd, I looked at my son and I said, well, God says this, the doctor says this, and God, you will say different. And I hugged him and I said, Kenyatta. And this was May 3rd now. May 2nd, they gave us the news.
Prognosis, yeah?
Yeah, and May 3rd, it was so strange because my wife was at that time recording, and she really didn't have no idea that he would respond like that. And I said, Kenyatta, and I felt when he like hug me, and I was hugging him at the time. And I was like, oh. And I squeezed him back, and he continued squeezing. And then at this time, my wife was like, oh my God, he's responding. And I said, Kenyatta, show me one finger. And he did that. Show me two fingers, he did that. And I stopped and I paused. I said, okay, he probably, a baby would say 1, 2, 3. So I stopped at 2 and I said, show me one finger. And he showed me one finger. And then I said, show me 4 fingers. And he showed me 4. So I said, okay, God, you're working. Because I tried to trick him into not going to 1, 2,
right.
3, 4, and 5.
Switch it up.
Yeah, I switched it up and he responded, and it was history after that. And that was the best day of our lives, literally.
Amazing.
It was amazing.
Faith has played a very important role in your family. As the man of the house, the head honcho,
Yes.
when something like this hits your family, I'm sure for the average man, it throws you off. But not only with your experience, but you're supported by a very strong woman, a woman of faith.
Yes.
What role has that played in your family structure and the support that you are now able to give to your 3 sons, particularly Kenyatta?
Yes. As a dad and as a man who's kind of physically strong, I looked at it as okay, I am physically strong, but your strength at that time is nothing, because you if he was like for instance, if there was somewhere where I could do to literally fix it right away, I would do it physically. But
Your physical
God,
strength is
yes,
not enough.
is nothing at that time. So God and I had conversations over and over. So he gave me strategy. He said, Tom, I know you're strong physically, but you will have to depend on me now, not physically, spiritually, in order to see the process. And time would heal everything. And I said that, and I said, okay, I have to be strong for my son who's injured and my other 2 sons, because I'm older, so I should know more how to be more understanding and help them to be in control. Yeah. So I every now and then I would sit and understand the importance of being there for not only Kenyatta, but being for the other 2 and the whole family, because it takes faith to be strong. You can be strong physically when you get in this situation. You're tested, and your physical cannot help that much. But your faith in God, and I had to show my sons, my other 2 sons, that physical strength is not so much important now, but being the love together as a family is very important now for us to stick together and gel together for Kenyatta and the other persons that would come in to visit
surround
him.
you.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Today, he remains committed to helping others pursue their dream of being air traffic controllers at Broward College as a lab assistant to instructors, a dream he once had and could possibly never achieve due to his accident, but instead he helps others achieve the same dream with absolutely no love lost.
How awesome has it been to have your mom, your dad, your brothers support you? What has that support been like?
They were so supportive, man. My father in the hospital, like he said earlier, they would teach him some therapy lessons, and he would going for that and during that hospital. I remember, and when we got home, we would walk behind the hallway to the back of our house, and I was in a wheelchair before,
Right.
and he said, we can go walking. One time I went in a wheelchair going to the bathroom. I said, I sick of this wheelchair. I don't want me in this wheelchair no more. So I get up, stand up strong. I put the wheelchair aside of me. I walk to the living room. I look at my mother and father, and I say, by myself. No more support from the wheelchair, no more support from coaches. I walk in. I was so excited because
And determined.
I was so excited because I realized it. I could walk. No, I don't need a
You don't
wheelchair
need
no
a
more.
wheelchair.
I felt like a heavy body lift.
Wow. Amazing. What would you like persons to know who might have had a family member who experienced brain trauma, or they've been in an accident, or they know someone? What would you say to them that could help them to encourage and help them to help that person? Just like your family helped you, how could they help others?
Just stay faithful, man. Stay faithful. I know that God, He has the final say. He gave man the ability to do stuff, but God is the ultimate physician,
Amen.
and He is the ultimate. He operates on them. So I will just tell them to stay strong, have faith, trust in God. God will bring them forth.
You heard it here, just from the man himself. A miracle. We're so blessed to be in your presence and to see your growth and to see how far you've come. Mom, tell me a little bit about the day-to-day recovery. What did your house look like? What were some of the gadgets that you had to buy in order to help Kenyatta in his recovery?
First of all, when he was discharged from the hospital, he was still wearing restraints because he would try to get out of bed. And that was risky. We still had to be extremely careful that he doesn't suffer any falls. And at that time, he still did not have enough balance to be able to stand on his own and walk on his own. As he mentioned earlier, that he used the wheelchair. So when they told us that we would be discharged on May 24th, I started thinking on some of the things that I could do to make the home ready for him. And so I ordered things like bed rails to put on each side of the bed. I moved his room to a much bigger room, the master bedroom actually, so that we could all be together. I had to get things so that the bathroom would be a safe place for him, like the special bench that the elderlies use. Eventually we got the handrail, but by the time it was time to install it, he didn't need it. I gave him most of the times the sponge baths in the bathroom because he was still wearing the peg from the feeding tube, so that had to be healed. And then gradually, we moved up to taking the baths in the shower, but with the bench, until eventually he could stand on his own. I did most of the showers with him because my husband had already moved back to the BVI, and I was just like a trainer and not really knowing what to do, but depending on the Holy Spirit to tell me what move to make exactly. And before my husband left, however, we tag team, because Tom is a strong one, so he dealt with the physical therapy. I did mostly the cognitive. So Tom would take him, as he mentioned, along the hallway. The hallway was wide enough, and the way the tiles were layered, we would use the tiles, the middle tile, as a marking point to get him to try and keep his balance, stay in the middle. It was safe because if he lost his balance, he would just stretch his arms and hold on to the walls. So we did the hallway walking as physical therapy, and then eventually we moved up to climbing stairs. So he would climb maybe about 5 stairs, up, back down, do that maybe twice. We would have him hold on to like the handrail and do his squats. So that was mostly the routine for the physical therapy. For the cognitive, in the hospital with the little training that they gave us, they recommended that we go and we get like 5-year-old books, math practices, reading practices, simple words, because he had to start over.
So you got some coloring books as well.
Coloring books.
Puzzles.
Coloring books, word puzzles. I even got things like pegs so that he can practice developing his fine motor skills.
Okay.
So I would time him and have him pick the pegs up and fill a bottle, one at a time to help with the coordination. He started from scratch, yes. We had like a big billboard in the living room. So I would put basic information, things that he needed to relearn.
Okay.
His date of birth, his address, his social security number, his siblings' names, their telephone numbers, our telephone numbers, so that he could practice what he used to do before.
Correct.
Memorizing those things. As part of the Medicaid insurance application, there was a part in the process where he had to speak with them directly. I couldn't.
Okay.
So we taught him things that they would typically ask him so that he could be prepared to answer the questions. Yeah.
So your home became essentially a learning center.
It did. We placed like labels in the kitchen to see where cups, plates, forks, knives, the refrigerator, the type of items that would be in the refrigerator to help him to locate things. We had to, just like a toddler, move stuff out of the living room.
That would be hazardous.
Exactly.
Wonderful. Well, thank you guys again for stopping by.
Thank you for having us.
Indeed.
All right.
In Road Town, 284 Media, I'm Ron Grant.
When you need to stay connected with friends and families at home or abroad, the best choice for you is Freedom. CCT Freedom. With the lowest rates in the market, our Freedom plan gives you unlimited calls and texting. Plus, our Freedom One package includes 10 gigabits of super fast, unlimited LTE data and unlimited calls to the BVI, USA, USVI, Canada, Puerto Rico, and UK lines. Why pay for overages when you can enjoy CCT Freedom? Stop by at one of our stores today and speak with one of our representatives to find out more about our CCT Freedom packages.